In every corner of the galaxy, gods of war lead their people, except one.
This can't be right. No god of war. That's impossible.
We had a few. They weren't scalable.
Divine Termination Agreement.
Welcome to our onboarding program, From Smite to Strategy.
They're exporting it. They're teaching other species how to retire gods.
It started, as most bureaucratic catastrophes do, with a Form 882-AZ, Application for Celestial Transition Benefits under the Divine Early Retirement Support Services, DERSS. No one knew exactly where it originated. The source line simply read, Earth Human Resources Division, Mythological Affairs subsection. The document was immaculate, perfectly formatted, signed in all the correct places, cross-referenced with relevant historical records, and most disturbingly, submitted ahead of schedule. At first, the Galactic Labor Oversight Bureau assumed it was a prank. Then they opened the attachments, notarized resignation letters from war deities, performance reviews dating back millennia, divine severance agreements, retraining schedules, and post-retirement satisfaction surveys. A few former gods had even left glowing testimonials. I didn't realize how burned out I was until I stopped overseeing 1,000 years of carnage, wrote one ex-Sumerian god of war, now running a wellness retreat on Mars. This has to be a mistake, the Bureau's director declared during an emergency session, her wings twitching in bureaucratic indignation. Deities aren't public sector employees. They're not eligible for pension programs. But the humans had already covered that. In the documentation, gods were classified as non-terrestrial performance-based combat consultants with culturally significant tenure, a designation that, through a horrifying loophole, qualified them for transitional benefits in no fewer than 5 overlapping labor systems. They evaluated them like underperforming staff, whispered the assistant director, eyes wide as they skimmed a divine KPI matrix. They gave them quarterly reviews. And just like that, it all clicked into place. Humans hadn't rebelled against their gods. They hadn't waged some cataclysmic war to overthrow divine authority. They'd retired their deities with full benefits, procedural elegance, and personalized career coaching. Across galactic data networks, classification tags updated automatically. The Norse pantheon, inactive, transitioned to mythological media consulting. Ares, contractor, strategic motivation speaking. One former Aztec war god, rebranded conflict resolution facilitator. The paperwork was flawless, so flawless that it began to spread, slowly at first, then virally. Insurance registries updated, military risk assessments revised their divine threat levels. Deity hazard tags were quietly downgraded. DERS wasn't a proposal anymore. It was policy. By the time the Bureau attempted to freeze the system-wide propagation, it was too late. Entire pantheons were in the process of onboarding to their new careers. A Babylonian battle goddess was applying for a grant to launch a line of tactical board games. A Celtic deity had already published a best-selling memoir, Bloodshed and Burnout, My Journey from God of War to UX Designer. We're looking at weaponized retirement, the director muttered at the second emergency session. They've turned divine demobilization into a service industry. And the humans weren't stopping. The DARS platform was now live on the open network. Intuitive interface, customizable transition tracks, real-time benefits tracking. Gods could self-assess their current cultural impact, upload resumes, and select from an extensive catalog of second careers: consulting, creative arts, academia, and, for those less ambitious, gardening. One Mesopotamian god had recently become a travel vlogger. Another was running a microbrewery with a surprisingly solid business plan. Then came the support programs. Emotional counseling for displaced deities, myth-to-market workshops, webinars on translating eternal purpose into scalable deliverables. There was even a TEDx talk by a former war god titled From Smite to Strategy: Lessons in Modern Conflict Resolution. By the third week, non-human civilizations began quietly submitting inquiries. Species that had long relied on divine military authority were now exploring human-modeled transition frameworks. Not for rebellion, not for revolution, just for efficiency. "They're exporting divine obsolescence," said the assistant director, staring in mute horror as another dozen applications flowed in. Like it's a franchise. A thank you package arrived soon after. Branded coffee mugs, DERSS onboarding brochures. A small note from the Earth-based Mythological Affairs subsection. "We're always happy to help. Let us know if you'd like to schedule a knowledge transfer session." The Bureau filed the note under Existential Threats, Nonviolent, and somewhere in a cozy office overlooking Earth orbit, a retired god of war was finalizing a presentation on agile leadership frameworks for divine to mortal transitions. The title slide read, "Glory Isn't Scalable, Rethinking the Role of the Divine in a Post-War Economy." The future, it seemed, came with a benefits package. The formation of the Council of Celestial Outplacement wasn't announced with trumpets or proclamations carved in ancient stone. There was no thunder, no divine visitation. Just a memo, circulated quietly, digitally. Title: Proposal for Centralized Support Framework for Displaced Divine Combat Entities. It came from a joint task force made up of several former war deities and one extremely overworked human HR specialist with a talent for interspecies mediation. The memo was short, professional, and included attached templates for workshop outlines, performance re-evaluation protocols, and a mission statement. To assist deities in transitioning from active divine combat roles to culturally relevant, strategically aligned post-divine careers. The Galactic Employment Alliance didn't know what to do with it at first. Technically, the idea wasn't illegal, just unprecedented, and worse, efficient. Within days, the memo had circulated through a dozen systems and gathered signatures from 3 retired gods, 1 demoted demigod, and, alarmingly, 2 still active divine entities who were considering future options. And so the Council of Celestial Outplacement was born. Headquartered in a neutral orbital platform repurposed from an abandoned war shrine, the Council's offices were sleek, understated, and deeply unsettling. The lobby had a waterfall, seating made from reconstituted meteorite, and a brochure stand with titles like Rebranding the Divine, Finding Purpose Beyond Smite, From Wrath to Wellness, and leveraging millennia of combat experience in the private sector. At the helm was a former Martian god of dusk warfare, once revered as the Spear of Crimson Dusk, now going by Crim, and wearing a sharply tailored blazer. Crim chaired the council with the calm authority of someone who had once guided armies through blood-soaked fields, and had since learned the calming value of a structured itinerary and a well-brewed tea. "We're not replacing their power," Crim said during an early media interview. "We're helping them redirect it." The Council quickly became the galactic go-to for divine transition management. They offered services ranging from psychological decompression to career pathing, networking mixers for former deities, and cross-pantheon mentorship programs. They even ran a quarterly seminar titled Burnout and Immortality, When Forever Becomes Too Long. Success stories piled up. A once feared volcanic war goddess now ran a planetary disaster preparedness consultancy. A Norse battle deity, long out of fashion and increasingly melancholic, discovered a second life writing serialized fiction. A minor Slavic storm god took to stand-up comedy and had a surprisingly sharp sense of timing. It wasn't always smooth. Some deities resisted. They clung to old rituals, demanded sacrifices, sulked about diminished worship metrics. But even the stubborn ones came around eventually. Usually after someone from the human delegation sat them down with a PowerPoint titled Market Saturation and Divine Brand Fatigue, the case for career pivoting. At one particularly well-attended session, a retired god of thunder asked, without sarcasm, how best to leverage millennia of symbolic warfare experience in a changing strategic landscape. He left with a job offer from a logistics firm and a list of podcast interview invitations. The council grew. Divisions were added. The Department of Legacy Management handled the respectful winding down of divine narratives. The Vocational Realignment Unit offered one-on-one coaching. The God Tech Initiative helped celestial beings adapt to modern data systems. A surprisingly popular track was content creation and mythological storytelling, especially among gods looking to monetize their lore. Eventually, the council began consulting for other species whose gods were faltering in the face of advancing warfare models. Some came reluctantly, still clinging to the idea of divine omnipotence. Others came with spreadsheets, hoping to avoid the fate of irrelevance. Human advisors worked quietly in the background, never leading, always suggesting, always infuriatingly prepared. They brought case studies, they brought feedback loops, they brought printable guides titled things like Celestial Downsizing with Dignity and Maintaining Cultural Resonance, Post-Omnipotence. They never gloated, not openly. They didn't need to. The results spoke for themselves. Even gods, it turned out, appreciated a clear transition path. By the time the Galactic Council formally recognized the Council of Celestial Outplacement as an independent interstellar agency, Their client base spanned 52 systems and included beings that, just decades earlier, had demanded tributes in fire and blood. Now, those same beings were submitting performance summaries and filling out satisfaction surveys. One deity, in the feedback section of a council evaluation form, had written, "I miss the worship. I don't miss the pressure." Another simply put, "Thank you for the pension plan." The universe hadn't ended. There had been no divine reckoning. No apocalyptic war between mortals and immortals. Just career transitions, structured, supported, and most shockingly of all, voluntary. Because in a galaxy where humans had made gods redundant, the only sensible thing left for divinity to do was update their skill set. Classified Level 7, filed by Galactic Compliance Office, Department of Anomalous Religious Activity. Subject, Incident Report, Unauthorized Divine Reinstatement Attempt, Udra 745 Hum SEC. Summary, at 0400 Galactic Standard Time, an unauthorized divine manifestation occurred above human strategic military facility 14C, located in orbit over the exoplanet designated HVX 914, commonly referred to in human records as Iron Field. The event lasted 12 minutes and involved a coalition of 6 divine entities from the Voltran Theocratic Concord attempting to reintroduce divine oversight into human military affairs. The attempt was unsuccessful. Details. The incident began with a spatial temporal distortion recorded approximately 4.3 kilometers above the base. Witnesses described the classic symptoms of divine entry: chromatic light flares, multi-frequency harmonic resonance, and a drop in local probability coherence. Surveillance drones captured the manifestation in full: 6 deities suspended mid-air, armored in radiant sigils, projecting declarations in over a dozen galactic dialects. The lead figure identified himself as Zev Kor, High Tempest of Vultra, wielder of the Sacred Axis, speaker of the Infinite War. He opened with the following proclamation, delivered at 114 decibels. "Humans, you have lost your way. The divine hand returns to guide your war." Personnel on the ground reportedly glanced up, exchanged a few remarks about malfunctioning atmospheric holograms, and resumed their lunch break. The humans made no immediate response. The divine coalition escalated. Lightning, trumpets, threats of spiritual audit. A secondary entity, later identified as Learthana the Flameclad, initiated an unauthorized sanctification protocol aimed at re-establishing a divine military hierarchy. The process was interrupted by an automated perimeter defense drone, which flagged the manifestation as unauthorized tactical holographic interference, and politely requested disengagement under Regulation 47B. No divine activity within human command zones without clearance and ID badge. Zevkor attempted to smite the drone. The drone replied by deploying a targeted EMP net. One of the divine entities fell out of the sky. At this point, a representative from the Human Bureau of Divine Compliance arrived on site, having been auto-alerted by anomaly detection protocols. The representative, a woman named Chief Liaison Ramos, wearing a casual business suit and carrying a tablet, walked directly up to the still hovering deities and held up a digital citation. "Violation of 3 neutrality statutes," she said. "Failure to file a manifestation intent form, unauthorized use of interdimensional entry point, attempted imposition of religious hierarchy without local consultation." Zevkor responded by calling her a mortal insect unworthy of the storm. Chief Liaison Ramos replied, "Uh-huh," tapped something on her tablet, and forwarded a cease and desist packet directly into their spiritual constructs. Several of the deities flinched. One attempted to read the attachments and immediately vanished, citing existential nausea from the footnotes. A transcript from security audio indicates the following exchange occurred. "Zevkor, you cannot deny the will of the divine. Your kind is lost without us." Chief Liaison Ramos, please refer to page 3 of the Durst Handbook, Section 2, Subclause C. Humans voluntarily decommission their divine military assets for efficiency reasons. You are attempting to reinstate an outdated chain of command in violation of local jurisdiction and several interfaith neutrality accords. Zevkor, we are gods, Chief Liaison. Ramos, yes, and you're trespassing. The final act of the incident occurred when a group of off-duty human engineers arrived to watch, snacks in hand. When asked for comment, one reportedly said, "They trying to stage a divine coup? Cute." A small crowd of personnel began rating the manifestation on a digital survey platform used for reviewing internal briefings and lunch vendors. The event received a 2.4 out of 5. Comments included, "Too much lightning, not enough substance. Would have been cool if we didn't already have full drone coverage. Smelled like desperation." Following an escalating series of legal warnings from Chief Liaison Ramos, including threat of spiritual lien and forced retraining under the Divine Early Retirement Support Services program, the Vultran deities dematerialized. Before departure, Lirthana muttered something about updating her resume. A full compliance packet was filed within the hour, including a referral to the Council of Celestial Outplacement. All 6 deities are now listed as in review pending reclassification. Fallout. The incident sparked brief discussions in several theocratic enclaves about the weakening of divine influence in mortal affairs, though most quickly dropped the topic after reviewing human military development timelines. A few divine pantheons have since reached out to DERs for consulting options, citing growing irrelevance and market adaptability concerns. Meanwhile, Earth's Department of Strategic Theology issued a formal statement. "We recognize the attempted reinstatement. We also recognize that gods who interrupt a defense drone calibration session without scheduling a meeting are unlikely to receive support from our personnel. Respectfully, if you wish to help, submit a proposal through the usual channels and bring data." Addendum. Per directive from the Galactic Compliance Office, a standing warning has been issued to all divine entities. Do not attempt to reassert authority over human warfare operations without proper clearance. Repeat violations may result in mandatory enrollment in combat relevance in the post-theological era training sessions, or, pending severity, assignment to the human gaming industry for cultural rehabilitation. Filed and sealed. Incident UDRA 745 HUMSEC, officially closed. Humans, 1 divine interference, 0. Classified brief, level 10. Distribution restricted, high-level strategic entities. Only filed by Galactic Risk Assessment Command, GRAC. Subject, human divine obsolescence, export risk, HDOER. This is not a drill. This is not a policy draft, a philosophical concern, or another bureaucratic spat between theology and warfare oversight departments. This is an existential security alert. Humans are exporting divine obsolescence. What began as a peculiar cultural footnote, humans retiring their gods of war, has evolved into a scalable, replicable process. One with documentation, templates, training modules, and most dangerously, results. The Divine Early Retirement Support Services, DERs, once dismissed as a cultural anomaly, has now partnered with the Council of Celestial Outplacement. Together, they offer full-spectrum theological restructuring services to any civilization willing or desperate enough to ask. They have established best practices. They have built infrastructure. They are franchising. Evidence indicates that over 30 species have begun implementing human-style divine transition protocols. 4 have already officially reclassified their war gods as non-active strategic consultants. At least 1 major pantheon is reportedly lobbying for stock options in an Earth-based defense analytics firm. We believed humans were simply post-divine. We were wrong. They are post-divine and proactive. They are modernizing theology by dismantling it from the inside out, efficiently, politely, and with PowerPoint slides. What was once holy has been converted into an asset class. What was once sacred now fits neatly into a quarterly report. And gods, real gods, are enrolling in training programs to stay relevant. Let the implications settle. They are not just evolving past divine warfare, they are systematizing its extinction. Our most recent intercepted files show alarming trends. A retired Mediterranean god of vengeance is now offering consulting services on targeted psychological warfare through meme propagation. The Council of Celestial Outplacement has launched a streaming service. It features interviews with ex-gods discussing lessons from obsolescence and finding meaning after omnipotence. Human military academies are piloting mentorship programs pairing high-ranking officers with divine interns. This is not satire. This is not prophecy. This is a business model. The emotional and cultural destabilization risk across the galactic theater is extreme. Already, lesser pantheons are questioning their purpose. Clergy systems are collapsing under a wave of existential disillusionment. In several cases, mortal populations are voluntarily discontinuing divine worship, citing low ROI on ritual effort. Worse still, human consultants are now being actively recruited by other species to evaluate divine operational effectiveness. In one chilling instance, a human-led audit of a long-revered war deity concluded with the god's voluntary dematerialization and subsequent reappearance as the keynote speaker at a leadership symposium titled Divinity to Discipline, Leading Without Lightning. A war god giving a TED Talk. Recommendation: immediate containment efforts must be deployed. Human divine transition methodology is a mimetic weapon. It spreads not through violence or conquest, but through organizational logic. It doesn't burn temples, it files them under heritage, inactive. We are dealing with a civilization that replaced sacred warfare with scalable efficiency. A civilization that built bureaucratic systems so optimized they can retire their own gods without rebellion. And now they are offering to do it for others. We must act. But what can we do? We cannot fight them. They have already calculated the outcome of every war we might start. We cannot out-worship them. Their gods are now writing software updates and teaching seminars. We cannot even shame them. They retired the concept of glory for being tactically inefficient. They have outgrown mythology. And worse, they're recruiting the divine into their process. We close this brief with a line pulled from a recent human recruitment advertisement, targeted, alarmingly, at intergalactic divine entities. Still got thunder but nowhere to strike? Ready to turn omnipotence into opportunity? Apply now. Humanity is hiring. We do not know what comes next, but we know who will be writing the onboarding documents. End of brief. And somewhere in the quiet expanse of deep space, a former god of war sits in a minimalist office, adjusting the final slides of an interstellar webinar titled Rethinking Relevance: A Future Beyond Faith. The broadcast begins in 5 minutes. Attendance is at maximum capacity, and in the vast bureaucracy of the cosmos, a new folder is created. Title: Species Capable of Rendering Divinity, Redundant Through Administrative Innovation. Status: Ongoing Threat, Human-Originated Approach with Caution. Or better yet, with a consultant. The war is over. There was no battle, just a resignation letter and an immaculate spreadsheet.